I would like to share with you some of the teachings within Amen Rakah from our Queen Nefertiti. And this is the story of love between King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. As you know, his name is also Yahshua. And so you have Aman, which is the original man. They call him Adam. Then you have Yahshua, but he's also known as King Akhenaten. And then you have Lord King Gabriel. I was a small girl when Yahshua first came over, and he was a small man with the same features of you today. And when he opened his mouth, he took my breath away. For when Roman Etruscans tried to besiege us and take my father away, he was already ready to be a world leader. And he often flirted and befriended me through honor and trust of my mother. And he was always thought to be heterosexual, despite never seeing another woman befitting among you. We would often walk the royal court and discuss things all over. And then he once then told me about the sun and the moon. I have since then forgot them. And when he asked me if it was okay to consult with my mother, I asked in what way do you mean? And he seemed interested in his own form of indecency. And that was the first time I heard the sounds of the Father who said, "Y'all may not entertain indigenous people and wait for a place of decency." And for many nights and many moons he came into my bedroom, but only in the spiritual. And for that I knew he was the son of the Father as the sun and mother as the moon. We were very small when Assyrians first tried to defile our homes, and Assyrians were heathenistic, and Egyptian soldiers would storm our quarter with shields and gently brisk us and our mother away. And my dad was never scared to get the orders to secure the royal quarter. And men would come with shields and javelin throwers, and if Assyrians ever broke our royal quarters, we would first use our javelin throwers and see what their light infantry wanted to do, because the entire military could not fit in such small fighting quarters. And we seen and know many killed people, and this was before anyone ever laid a finger on me or you. And in time of war, there were times of peace. And I first began to train as a son of a Egyptian king and queen with the Egyptian army, when my dad told the Assyrian army they had no honor. And that's when the Assyrians began to try to destroy our way of life and form a government. Yet I was younger than my Egyptian army, and when Assyrians breached the quarter, my father had thought I had failed with my mother, but we were still able to fight back and take back our kingdom. And they would come as many times as they could conjure up enough people. And every time we would push them down the steps, and my mother fell in defense of me. And she would have been afraid of the sound of pistols. Upon the turn of the moon, they took Jerusalem. And we still remained king and queen because Herod had fallen around Kabul. Yet Yahshua brought about a type of peace within the kingdom all along. And I had no siblings, so they named me after a man, so that the world would know they had been deceived. And there was no mounts or bow and arrows to shoot, because the day of the crucifixion had not yet come. And if there was ever something of need, Yahshua knew where to come. My father never believed in Jesus, and no one in our kingdom ever heard of him. And Thebes was built in honor of indigenous people. And when Yahshua and I were alive, our temples and stones were not in ruin. And when it comes to indigenous teachings of the Hebrews, Yahshua realized he was more than one or two. For if the worlds knew no testament for it, listen to the mothers of Egypt for it. And King Herod would have never hung a man up or set another on fire. For all his years of battle and war, he loved his wife and daughter. And when the Assyrians breached the quarter, I was standing at the ready with my mother. Yet Yahshua was the spirit within the temple. Amen Ra, the oneness, was the allowance within the spirit of Yahshua. And so Amen Rakah, the oneness spirit, is the spirit that gave life to him. And when me and Yahshua used to do it, he used to kiss me all over and tell me things, and he was never disrespectful or displeasant to me or a mother. And he always wore fresh perfumes inside his dreadlocks all over, and he was wed to me by the ring that was worn on my mother's finger. There was a time when the walls stopped hitting our bricks and they stopped attacking our fortress, and there was nothing we could do but respect that we have fought our hardest and lost our king and queen. And I was then disguised as King Herod's son, and I never heard the name Tutankhamun. All I ever heard was Hermes, because to us that is the one they call Jesus, and the father was Caprius, and within Yeshua he was both of them. And on the day of illumination you could not stand the sight of black unity, and in my heart one day I knew he was destined to come back. And I sent my Egyptian Hebrew people to have every Etruscan Hebrew soldier murdered, and started asking questions home to home. And unlike white man, Yeshua was not that well known. And we never wrote a book like the Canuck, because our history and faith were written and etched in stones and the walls. And our purity was made to bleed so he could acknowledge our blessing and not the sins of unholy men. Provided by the return of Amen-Ra and Queen Nefertiti, written within Amen-Ra as testament of the true religion and faith of the Hebrew Israelites, provided by the international teaching of the ancient Egyptian Hebrew Israelites. Bishmi Allah.